First, we're going to hear from Rebecca Storms. She joined us actually at our January business meeting. She's the Development Board's Groundwater Monitoring Manager, and she is going to be giving us some updates on their monitoring and measuring programs. So we're going to get her camera turned on.
Hi, can you hear me?
We sure can. Your camera isn't on though.
I'm getting that started right now.
Fantastic.
Hi there.
We hear and see you.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us, Rebecca.
Sure, thank you for having me. So as Leah said, my name is Rebecca.
I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. My name is Rebecca Storms. I'm the manager of the Groundwater Monitoring Department at the Texas Water Development Board, and I'll be providing you some updates today on the activities we have going on in groundwater monitoring. That first picture, or I guess it's the only picture in my presentation that you see on the front, that's one of our field staff. He's collecting the flow rate measurement at a spring in Hayes County, and I'll be talking a little bit more about our springs program in a bit. So current things that we have going on, we just completed our water quality season this past August. It was quite a bit different than previous years due to some changes that we had to enact as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The most significant of these was our travel impacts. So the pandemic started around March. That's typically when our water quality season starts. And there were some travel restrictions in place. We didn't actually get out in the field until mid-June. And even then, we were restricted. We were not able to do overnight travel. And so not only did this shorten our field season, it also changed which aquifers we were able to sample this past season. We originally were planning to go to the Panhandle in West Texas, but now with those travel restrictions, we were limited to day trip localities. So our staff ended up sampling springs and wells located basically in the Central Texas area. And for those of you that don't know this already, the way our water quality season works is we rotate between different aquifers throughout the state on a 4-year cycle. So we had to just change that up this year. And also as a result of this, we had the same amount of funding to use in a much shorter amount of time. And so one of the things that we did with some of that extra funding was to provide additional money to some of our cooperators so they could collect extra samples or analyze those samples for extra parameters such as isotopes. But we also use this opportunity to initiate our spring monitoring program. I spoke about this in a past update I provided to TAG, but essentially the goal of this program is to monitor a consistent network of springs on an annual basis. Historically, the agency has sampled springs here and there, but never consistently, and flow rate measurements were hardly ever taken. So with this new program, our goal is to collect flow rate measurements and isotope samples from a consistent network of springs every year. So this past season, we were able to sample 11 spring sites in Central Texas. We took flow rate measurements at all of them, and we were able to collect samples for isotope analyses at all of them. So we're still compiling this data, but we're very excited about this program. We've received a lot of support and interest from outside stakeholders, and we plan to continue this program in the future and hopefully expand it, which will be dependent on available resources. For more information about our water quality program in general, you can contact Chris Mueller. His information is right there. He's the program supervisor of our water quality program. If you're specifically interested in learning more about the spring monitoring program, you can contact myself, and I will put you in touch with staff that are leading that program. My contact information will be at the end of the presentation. So now we're preparing for our water level season. This begins in October. Unlike the water quality season, water levels are conducted across the state every year. So it's a statewide effort, but with that in mind, we still have some considerations to watch out for due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. So one thing that we're allowing this year is increased flexibility for our staff to rearrange their assignment orders if needed. So they'll be checking specific case counts in counties that they're traveling to or districts that they're traveling to, and assessing if they feel comfortable traveling and staying overnight in those areas, or if they feel like there's a need to postpone those and bump other trips up earlier. There's also the possibility they may need to cancel some trips if there's a spike that's occurring in a particular area. So we're going to do the best that we can, but we want to provide for the safety and flexibility for our staff. We're also going to be developing a way for staff to prioritize certain sites if they're not able to collect all of their measurements. So an example would be a really important historical well or sites located in areas that need more data for modeling purposes. So stay tuned on that. But with that being said, we are definitely encouraging cooperation from GCDs this year. As usual, our staff will be notifying you before they travel to your district, and you'll have the opportunity to meet them in the field and observe their water level measurement activities and ask questions, participate in training opportunities. We do have some extra precautions we're taking at this time due to COVID-19, such as wearing masks if you're with other people in the field. So we'll brief you on that if you end up going out in the field with us. We also may reach out to you for possible assistance to help us collect water level measurements in areas that may be difficult for us to travel to. On that same note, if you're interested in taking over your water level measurements in your district, if you have the resources and the training to do so, you can reach out to us and we can work with you on that. So Cody Bjornson is the program supervisor of our water level program. His contact information is right there. If you have any specific questions, you can reach out to him. He's also one of the staff who is leading the spring monitoring program. So moving on, I wanted to give you some updates on the recorder well program. This program is going through a lot of changes right now. Many of you might have heard that we lost Chuck Crawford, our program supervisor. He left the agency at the end of August. So right now we're kind of catching up and we're getting organized, seeing where he left off on a lot of sites. We're also going through staffing transition and hiring. And so we're a little bit more short-staffed than we were before. So as a result, our site maintenance visits will be limited for some time with our capacity and what we're able to do. They have been limited for a while anyway due to COVID-19. But now, as I said, we're a little bit more short-staffed, and the staff that we have is still getting trained and up to speed. We were able to hire a full-time field technician for this program earlier this year. His name is Fred Bertram, and he was being trained by Chuck before Chuck left. So he's one of our permanent people in the program, and we're working to hire an additional person or two. So for the short-term focus, these are some of our priorities that we're looking at. We're going to be trying to maintain the current network to the extent possible, and we may need to prioritize sites as we won't be able to get to all of the sites that need to be maintained at this time. So things that we'll be looking at when we prioritize sites are wells that are important for communities. They may serve as drought indicators, sites that may be important for regional water planning purposes, also sites that are probably operated by agency-owned equipment. So if you have specific needs or concerns for sites in your area, please reach out to us and we'll take that into consideration. We'll also be focusing on queuing and QCing incoming data that's posted to our website and responding to your requests as much as we can. At this time, we are not planning to expand the network or take on new projects. We're just trying to maintain what we have and get up to speed on where Chuck left off. For the long-term focus, we're hoping to implement some GCD training. We've talked about this before. It'd be nice to be able to train GCDs on some basic maintenance tasks. This would help alleviate our staff. They'd be able to focus on more complicated maintenance tasks at other sites or installing new sites. And I think it'll benefit GCDs as well. So stay tuned. We will be developing plans to do that. And eventually, of course, we would like to expand our network. This will be dependent on funding and resources. The eventual goal is to have a recorder in every county. So areas that don't currently have recorder wells or that are lacking water level data in general will be prioritized. And of course, we are going to have to keep working on equipment upgrades. There are several sites that are aging out that will need to be replaced with the equipment that's currently operating them. So we will work with you on that. And I've listed the contact information for Fred Bertram. He's our full-time field technician. You can reach out to him or myself with any specific questions or concerns. And I wanted to wrap up the updates talking about our groundwater data. As most of you are aware, we house an enormous amount of groundwater data on our website and our databases. A lot of this data is provided by groundwater conservation districts. And it's my understanding that we received some new data providers this past year. So I wanted to say thank you. So we worked with TAGD earlier this year to develop a data wish list. And this kind of goes over everything that we would hope to get from groundwater conservation districts when they're submitting data, from water quality data to water level data, the types of metadata associated with that data that we would hope to have. And so I can share this with you if you reach out to me, and I believe Leah has a copy of this as well. And for those new data providers that may have questions on the process, or if you haven't provided data to us and you're interested in doing so, please reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions and go over the process with you. Heather Dodson, her contact information is listed right there. She's our data team lead. She's excellent, and she can answer any questions you may have. And I've also listed the general email address below that you can just send your data to once you're ready to submit it. And finally, I just wanted to remind you of the resources that we have on our website. The first bullet shows our interactive website and viewer link. This website allows you to search for water wells in your area and the associated data. There's also our Water Data for Texas website. This is the website that posts our recorder data. And then the last two bullets are links to our groundwater database and submitted drillers report database websites. You can do advanced searches and select specific criteria and download the associated data. And here is my contact information should you have any questions or need more information. And at this time, I'll take any questions.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I am looking in the questions tab. Let's see if anyone puts their hand up, wants to ask any questions of you. You mentioned that the data wish list, and that was something we circulated. We had in the weekly updates for about a month, send out to you guys. We'll send that out again in the weekly updates this week in case anyone is interested in seeing that. And we'll also be posting Rebecca's presentation. So you guys can take a look at that and pull that contact information on these things. So I don't see any questions in the questions tab, and I don't see any hands up. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining us. Really appreciate it. Look forward to having you back in person next time, hopefully.
Sure, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.